Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. My name is Chris Ellis. I'm a director here at Impetus Technologies, and I will be your host and MC for today's session titled Next Best Action Marketing Analytics. For those of you who may not know us, the Impetus group of companies are headquartered here in the U.S. in the heart of Silicon Valley. So let's go ahead and dive right in. And the agenda for today is around effective marketing analytics for upsell and customer retention using Next Best Action. So with that, we're going to start with some of the challenges and keys to success to a successful marketing analytics program. Then we're going to get into actually designing next best offer campaigns, and we're going to do that through the lens of a Fortune 500 company that we've recently helped in order to launch their program. Next, we're going to do a solution demo, and I've got an expert, Vaibhav Nurki, who's joined me today to walk through how we actually executed that program. And then finally, as I mentioned, when we get to the end, we'll do Q&A. So first, let's start with our poll question, which you should see on your panel. And that question is, what is your top challenge for efficient marketing analytics? And there are 4 answers you have to choose from: disparate data sources, lack of stakeholder buy-in, inability to measure results, and tool selection. So we'll actually reveal the results of those as we go through. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the presentation and start with the challenges and keys to success. So in terms of the challenges, as marketers, we have both business and technical challenges in executing our marketing analytics. Certainly on the business side, improving time to market, whether that be a new product or existing product that we're looking to enhance, right? We need to be able to react very quickly and be able to get that changes or a new product launch as fast as we can. We also want to focus on increasing customer conversion, and that really has to do with having the right product, the right offer at the right time. And then also gaining stakeholder buy-in to implement these new programs. I can't overstate that enough that if you don't have stakeholder buy-in, it doesn't matter what type of project it is, they're rarely successful. So making sure that everyone is a part of it and is bought in is critical. In terms of technical challenges, there's going to be a few that are pretty critical here, and starts with ensuring data availability. So anytime you want to start with creating that marketing program, what is the data that's going to be required? Both internal sources, external sources. Is it in the right format, and can I make good use of that data? Then there's choosing the right tools, right? How are you going to execute this? And does that tool that you choose, does it have the right features? Does it have features that you don't even need? To make sure that you choose a tool that's going to give you what you need, not just now, but also in the future. And then an inability to measure and adapt. So when starting out, it's critical that you know what you're trying to measure, because if you don't know what you're measuring, it's hard to improve things. It's hard to adapt as required. So that leads into our keys to success. And it starts with having a good plan in place. And that has identifiable, measurable objectives. So they're clear. We know what we're trying to accomplish. We know what success looks like, so that we can always adapt to make sure if we're not being successful that we're moving in the right direction to achieve those objectives. I say design for self-service, and what I mean by that is you want low IT involvement, because you need to be able to react very quickly, and that requires being able to make changes on the fly, being able to put new ideas in, and what you don't want is, that's going to take 3 weeks to implement, right? As marketers, we've got to be much faster to market with that. When we're selecting tools, we want to make sure that they're future ready. Are they flexible? Are they scalable, right? I may be doing thousands of transactions today. I may be doing millions in the future. So does it have the functionality in that future and the ability to scale up as my business grows? And then as it grows, right, enabling automation is going to be key, because we obviously can't touch every transaction or every customer. We need automation in that whole process so that it will execute the rules that we've set out. And this is where you can actually bring in artificial intelligence and machine learning to increase the intelligence behind that, so that as the model learns, it's able to optimize even further. Now let's get into designing next best offer campaigns. And as I mentioned, we worked with a Fortune 500 bank that today tracks customer transaction patterns to determine what are the next best offers for upselling and customer retention. And these transactions, it could be something, actual transactions that I'm making, with the bank. It could also be my interactions as well. So it could be website clicks. But generally speaking, what the objective here is to say that my transactions with this bank actually indicate my future plans with the bank as well. So for example, if I'm making a series of deposits, I'm now more flush with cash, right? This is a great time to hit me up with an upsell offer. So maybe you have several products that this customer doesn't have, now's the time to make that. Conversely, if I start making a bunch of withdrawals, that is an indicator that maybe I'm going to do less business with the bank. I may be moving my account to somewhere else. So I wanted to be able to put out the right retention offer in order to make sure I keep that customer. So these are some of the objectives that they were looking to do. In terms of how to execute that, so I've listed out 5 steps here that we'll walk through, that when putting together that marketing analytics program, that you follow these steps. And it starts with acquiring the data. So I mentioned that data availability. So I want that transaction history as well as future transactions. I want to know what deposits, what payments this customer is making. I want to be able to bring in my customer profile, everything I know about the customer. And that could also include external sources, such in this case, a FICO score. Now that I have that data, I want to be able to prepare that data. I want to be able to do any filtering, cleansing, computing new fields that are going to be valuable to help me get into the next step, which is really evaluating and creating the rules. So what are the rules that say I want to go after that upsell opportunity, or I want to go after that retention opportunity? And then what are the offers that are going to accompany those? And then I need to be able to not just put them out there, but I've got to be able to modify them over time. So now that I've established all this, I'm ready now for that data to flow through. And I have my rules in place, and I'm ready to act on them. So what I want to do is be able to send those upsell retention offers, whether that's to downstream marketing execution systems, something maybe direct, say an email to the customer that I'm ready to act on. I also want to be able to manage the offer frequency. So I don't want to hit the same customer up with the same offer week after week, or I'll risk alienating that customer. Finally, we want to be able to measure the results. So this gets back to our clear objectives. Track the campaigns. Am I seeing success? Am I increasing my upsell? Am I lowering my customer churn? I also want to make sure, is the system executing properly? So is the rules that I've set in place, is that happening, for these millions of transactions that are coming through? And then finally, I want to create that feedback loop where I'm able to update my rules and offers in order to improve the system over time. So the tool that we actually use is an Impetus tool. It is StreamAnalytix, which provides, and you can see here at the bottom, it provides a graphical user interface for creating that flow. And you can start from the left-hand side, some of those same steps that I just explained on the previous slide, where I'm able to acquire data. So you want to have something that is easy self-service, easy to implement. Marketing can own this, where I'm able to acquire that data, in this case, some logs, some data from my data lake, where I've got operators that I can drag and drop in for 30-plus data sources to be able to connect to. Then I want to be able to prepare, and I've got 150 different functions I can do in order to get that data, whether I need to derive new fields, I just need to filter out customers that don't belong. You get the idea. And where I'm then moving on to an evaluation step. And this is where I can have some very static rules. I can also bring in my analytics, my machine learning, being able to train and score, so that I'm able to improve that over time. That says, maybe today I'm saying household income's over 100,000, and then I'm able to optimize that in the future, so to say maybe it's only 90,000. And then finally, to be able to act on that and be able to push that offer down to a downstream system or direct to the customer. So let's stop for a moment and actually look at some of the poll results. I'm not sure if that's coming through. Maybe we'll come back to that. But this is where we want to turn it. I want to turn things over to Vaibhav Nurki, who is one of our experts, who will be talking through StreamAnalytix and actual pipeline. But before he does that, this is really how do I get started? And whether you're building a new system or you're replacing an old one, you really need to start with what is my business logic, because I want to take that end-to-end flow, and ultimately I'm going to replicate that within StreamAnalytix or any other tool that you're selecting for your marketing analytics program. So, Vaibhav, let me turn that over to you. And actually, I do see the poll results, where we're seeing, I think, disparate data sets seems to be the one that we're seeing the most. So that's interesting. So go ahead, Vaibhav.
Thank you, Chris. I'm just trying to share my screen.
And it's coming up. Yep, we can see it.
Yep. All right. Hello, everyone. Let me show how one of the simple marketing analytics rule can be implemented in StreamAnalytix. So when we log into StreamAnalytix, this is what we get as a pane into. This is where we'll end up as a pane in the StreamAnalytix, and here what we have is like as Chris explained, we have all the components in this left-hand panel where we can select all the sources. We have the processors, different processors, analytics processors, and emitters coming in. So the use case which I'm going to cover today is about retention of an existing loan customer. The bank would like to, retain an existing loan customer and provide next best offers to them so that they can be retained for a few more years with the new offers and all. So to start with, as you see this, we acquire the data sources for this use case. What would I need? So basically, I need the customer profile, which has all the existing data set for the customers, all the details for the customers. And then I need the transaction data, the loan transaction data, which is against the loan repayments. So this I have the other data set, which gives me the loan repayment data. So now I would like to filter out my customer profile for only the loan customers. So here, this component gives me the opportunity to filter out all the customer profile data based on my product ID for the loans and the proper business code. And also I can filter out some of the unwanted accounts, which are like delinquent accounts and all, because I do not want to target them. So what I can also do is I can add more filters to this dynamically if any change comes in my requirement in any of that, like suppose for an LOB, I would just like to filter out this LOB. And so I can just say does not contain, and it should automatically remove from my data source. So this is how we can dynamically add the filter. And if we see here, this filter goes into the code automatically. We didn't have to code it at all. So it was applied automatically. And even if this component was not there and the filter component was not there, and I'm trying to do it, trying to apply that filter condition on the source, this filter component will automatically fly in from this panel and get attached into my pipeline. So this is how I can filter my data over here, StreamAnalytix, in a very simple visual way. Similarly, I do it for my other data set, the loan payment data, repayment data set, and I would like to filter it. based on the people who are nearing their payment. So I may figure out, okay, the people who are at the last leg of repayment, maybe who have 2-3 repayments left. So I can filter out that. And as you see in the bottom pane, as and when I am trying to filter out the data, the number changes over here. I initially had the overall data records and customer profile as 66. Then we slashed it down to 12 based on the filters. So this is a pane which the bottom pane which StreamAnalytix provide as an inspect pane, where the analyst can also see how his logic is playing through and how the data is playing through as per his logic and as per his conditions, and he can spot check and do a spot QA for the data. So again, after filtering both the data sets, I can go ahead and join them to arrive on my final list of the candidates, the candidate customers, and I can just do some householding stuff to add some of the tracking IDs and stuff, and then finally put it into one of the output channels, maybe a file or some other source, so that it can be consumed by the downstream systems. So this is how a simple rule, marketing rule, or any analytics rule can be added and created as a pipeline visually in StreamAnalytix. So now what it has enabled for our customers is even the business analysts can now try to write their own logic. It's like kind of a flow chart using instead of using any other flow charting, they can directly use this, which also gives them an opportunity to test their logic immediately instead of waiting for the bigger QA cycles and all. So overall, it has enabled them to put any new solution faster, time to market wise. And second thing is the other things what have unfolded for them is like overall the solution time, overall the processing time has reduced significantly, about 10x times. So suppose for some of the historical data processing where we need the analysis for any customer, okay, how they are doing on month to month from withdrawal to deposit and their ratios, and is there a possibility that they are trying to move their funds. So that needs an historical analysis. And historical data processing, as we always know, is a bulky processing and takes a lot of time. So overall, since this new platform for them, StreamAnalytix is a very scalable platform with high performance, so it reduces the processing time significantly. So one, if there is an error right now in a system for an historical rule which involves history and it corrupts some of the data, suppose error can be from the error can be poured in from the upstream systems who provide the data. Not all the data is prepared at the organization. We have some of the third-party files also integrated and data coming in from all sources. So if the data has some issues on a given day, and it involves and it affects any of these historical analysis rules, that error stays there in the system for the overall analytics period. So suppose it is a 6 months ongoing analysis for a trend, that error will roll off only after 6 months, when those 6 months window is rolled off for the customers. Because to correct that, it needs at least 2 to 3 days of processing time and dedicated time for the business to review, okay, if all the calculation and the data fix, everything is in place. So that is one thing. And same condition is there when they want to introduce a new rule which involves such kind of a complex analysis with the historical data. So they cannot put it until the next business cycle or next observation cycle comes up for that business rule. So these are two big takeaways which they are getting. So ease of development, even now the business analysts are contributing to the development. They are hands-on. They use this tool to prepare their rules and validate it, and further take it to deployment with the engineers. And Second thing, what it has enabled them is it has unlocked the capabilities for them to explore the options for how to implement the machine learning and do some kind of real-time analytics and real-time offers in this space. So overall, very good. It is turning out to be a very good bet for our customers. Over to you, Chris.
All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and jump over to the next slide, which is our smiling faces. So this is Chris Ellis, who you're listening to now. I'm director at Impetus Technologies, and Vaibhav, who is a project manager and real expert on StreamAnalytix. So we'll get into the Q&A. We do have a couple more poll questions for you, though, in terms of would you be interested in a deep dive of StreamAnalytix that you saw today. And then also, we just would really appreciate your feedback on just the webinar experience with 5 being the highest. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions that we have today. See a few have come in. Let me start with, how long does it take to implement a marketing analytics campaign? And I'll go ahead and take that one. The answer really is, so much of the effort is going to be done up front in terms of, do I have an environment in place? Do I have the tools, and what do I need to select? Do I know what my business logic is? So the actual execution doesn't take quite as long as so much of that prep work in order to make sure you have the stakeholder buy-in, you understand your objectives, you have that logic and an environment ready to go. So the short answer is it's months, not years, to implement. And then, of course, it all depends on just how many rules am I looking to put in place as well. Let's see. The next one we have is, please elaborate on how your solution implements machine learning for recommendations. Vaibhav, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So the solution we looked upon, so we can use that and extend it. What we can do is we can use the daily transactional patterns, and as I gave the example of withdrawals and deposits and various ratios, those can be used as features, and we can use them to train a model and further use that model to predict or create or derive a propensity score for any of the upsell predictions, like how for a new customer, what is the propensity score for him to subscribe to the new offer. So that's how you can utilize this the same example and implement the machine learning there.
Okay. The next question, is this a software as a service, or is it an engine running on the client platform? So we do sell the software on an annual basis. It can run on the client platform. It also runs in the cloud as well. So we have some flexibility in terms of how it can be consumed. I think that answers that. The next question I have is this tool web-based, hosted with users, or hosted on individual desktops without a server component? Vaibhav, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so it is hosted. It can be hosted in premise and cloud, and it is the web interface is on a single machine, which is the interface for the whole system. So the user just has to use the web interface, and the StreamAnalytix will do all the job submissions and everything. It will take care in the background. So customer is only exposed to the web UI.
Okay. All right. The next question, is there a practical limit to the number of records being processed in a given journey or flow? We have many millions of records in our email database that need to be quickly processed. That is a great question. So, I'd mentioned earlier about being able to really scale up. And in terms of this tool, it does run on Spark. So we've got that multi-parallel processing, and we actually manage not just for this customer, but actually another client where we're doing several terabytes of data and certainly many millions. So many of the tools I would say that are more legacy, this is where you do start to run into the performance issues and what Vaibhav went through earlier in terms of what we were replacing at that time, really did start to hit the limits. But in this case, I think we have some additional data points we could probably share as well in terms of the number that we can process in a day. But it's quite significant, and certainly several million is not going to be an issue. The next question I have is, how can we achieve leads in real time using StreamAnalytix? Vaibhav, do you want to take that?
Sure. So in the very same example which we saw, we have used batch source or files as data source, which are like created over time, or it is the last day's data basically. So what we can do is, if we have the sources available with the real-time streaming sources like Kafka or Kinesis from cloud space or any other real-time streaming system, we can integrate it, and the same leads can be generated, same rules can be executed and presented to a real-time dashboard like Elasticsearch, Kibana, or any other real technology who's rendering the real-time reports, and this can be converted into a real-time solution.
Okay, great. Next question, is this solution fully automated? Yes, the answer is you need to design any of these solutions to be fully automated as well, just because when you're dealing with millions of transactions, and somebody mentioned that like millions of emails, you've got to be able to connect to that data source and have it automatically flow from end to end in order to be able to execute it. So I think when you're establishing those workflows, that's going to be critical. One more question I see, how are you connecting to the systems of truth record that is owned by clients? Vaibhav, you could probably answer that. I know you went through some of that in your demo, and I also mentioned that we've got 30+ connectors that are automatically integrated to a number of different technologies. But Vaibhav, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, sorry, could you come back on the question, Chris, again?
The question is, how are you connecting to the systems of record? So the
source
systems?
Yes, you mentioned it absolutely correct. So we have support for all the different data sources, like if it is a file data source, HDFS data source, or any kind of a database connection, all the connectors are pre-built. We just have to drag and drop on the panel, as I showed you from the data source list, and they're readily available. You can just give the configuration of the path and connection details. That's it. No other code is required. So that's how we can achieve it really quick.
Okay. Yeah, and that's really one of the great advantages of this tool, is that it is a drag and drop. It is operators. So leaving out, coding, a significant amount of that coding. And that also applies not just for acquiring the data, but also any transformations of the data. And it even applies for machine learning. So if you want to build some type of machine learning model in there, we have operators in there for that. So the idea is to make it as easy as possible for the user.
And also I would like to mention there that it is the sources, data sources, and all the processing units and the data sinks or the emitters where we want to put the data, all of them we have a support for, also the legacy ones and also the latest ones who are like real-time and distributed data sources. So volume-wise, we can achieve any sort of scalability over there.
Very good. All right, I know we are at the 30-minute mark, and I was very committed to making sure that we didn't go over today. So I do appreciate your participation, your questions, very good, and certainly please feel free to reach out to us if we can help you in any way. I think this is a very exciting field and one that is certainly growing as well. All right, so with that, let me go ahead and wrap things up. Everyone, have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.